How's everybody doing? All right. I know we have some people joining us online today. We're so grateful to be able to have that opportunity. So when I say, you got to make up for some people that are missing today. When I say, how's everybody doing today? And one person says, woo, that's not good, right? So how's everybody doing today? Sad. Anyways, hey, my name is Clint Dupin, and we are excited that you are here today. If you've never checked in with us here, whether it's in person or it's online, there's a simple way to do that. You can see right behind me on the screen, simply text Eastown to 94000, and we would love to connect with you. If you're here in person, we have a gift waiting for you over here at the This is Eastown table. If you are online, we would love to send you something because we know that connecting is so important. We know that being here is one thing, and maybe for some of you, if you're brand new, it's like making the journey here was a journey, and so we want to connect with you in that way. I just want to mention a few things to you today that we have coming up, and Michael, my wife, was sharing a little bit of some of the things, but the first thing I want to talk about is block parties. When we started Eastown, we started up at Windermere Ranch Middle School, and we started in a way where it's like, hey, you know what, it's not necessarily all about Sunday morning. And we believe that there's great churches, we believe that there's great movements here in the Bay Area. But when you read the scripture and when you understand who Jesus is, it's right where you live, right? It's engaging with people in your workplace. It's engaging with people in your neighborhood. Now, some of you might think it's like, I don't want to talk to my neighbor. He's weird or she's weird. They think the exact same thing about you, okay? But it's like we want to connect with our neighbors, and we don't want to just say it. We actually want to help you do it, right? And so we supply a lot of different things for you. If you want to do a movie night at your house, we will actually deliver things that you can do a movie outdoors. We have a screen, we have a projector, we have a sound system. We will set it up for you. If you want to do a grill out in your neighborhood, we will come over and help you set that up. But we want to not just say it, but we want to help you do it. Now, I know this, like there's a lot of my friends, even in the summer, myself included, we get away, we kind of just get summer brain, and we just kind of focus on what we need to do. But remember, this is a wonderful opportunity over this next couple of months to just be strategic where you live, right? And so throw a little block party. Maybe that intimidates you. Partner up with somebody else and do that. Maybe you're in a condo or maybe you're in an apartment. Find a different way that you can do it. We'll talk to you about it. But we really, really believe in this. We really believe that it will make a difference. In fact, Jesus says, love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and intelligence. He says the most important is first, right, is to love God. But then he talks about loving your neighbor. Loving your neighbor. And what does that look like to love your neighbor? We live in a world that is divided, right? And maybe you even feel that divide with some of your neighbors or maybe even some of your co-workers. But this is an awesome opportunity to love them exactly where they are. And so I want to just say, here's how you do it. You can go online. You can register. You will find on there one of our events. You can sign up that way. We will deliver this stuff to you. You can also go on our Eastown app, and you can sign up that way as well. And then one other thing I want to talk about before I get started today is just, I'll tell you, like, I'm always humbled by people's generosity here at Eastown. And we get to do a lot of stuff here, but often we get to do more out there. We talk about something called Loving Local, and we have Love Local partners. And one of those partnerships is Foster the City. Now, my heart was moved about 10 or 12 years ago when I started hearing and understanding more about adoption and fostering. And I know that we have families here that are fostering, that are adopting here in our community. And a partner that we have is Foster the City. But when my heart was moved, it was in Michigan. We were in Detroit. We were leading a church there. And I heard this stat in Michigan. There was 19,000 kids that were in the foster system. And then I heard another stat that was kind of alarming. There was 21,000 churches in Michigan. And we did this whole math as Kensington Community Church. We're like, man, if one church, right, if one family or one individual would step up in every church, we would solve the issue. Now, Many of you know the system. It's a little bit harder than that. But my point being is that the church should be responsible for changing the landscape in which it lives. And so this is a huge issue here in the Bay Area. And so you might not be called to start or to foster, but maybe you can come around a family that you can actually help. And one of the ways that you can do that, there's actually a virtual interest meeting on July 11th. We'll send out more on our newsletter about that. You can find out different ways to help here in our Eastown community or even beyond. But this is going to be a Foster the City. They are actually leading this virtual interest meeting on July 11th. It's about 30 minutes, and you can find out a little bit more about foster care. Now, we partner with them financially. So when you give here, when you give to Easttown, when you are generous with your finances, it's a partnership that we can continue on to make a difference here in the Bay Area. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to start with prayer, and then we will get started today. Lord, we just come to you. Just thank you so much for giving us a place to meet. And Lord, we just thank you for each and every person that is here this morning. Lord, no matter what we're going through, maybe there's been news that we have heard this week from a family member or a loved one that is not good. Or Lord, maybe we have anxiety or fear of some things that are happening in our world or even in our personal life. Lord, you know those pains. You know that hurt. And Lord, you hear us. We are your children. And we want to express that to you. And Lord, I just pray for the next few moments that we can kind of push all of the different noises out of our head and we can actually listen to you. In your name, amen. So I want to share today, I'm going to talk a little bit about peace, that it is the road that kind of leads to hope. We're in this series called Brighter Days, that hope is not just a dream. But before I do that, maybe for some of you, whether you're online or you're here in person, you didn't grow up in church. And I want to just talk to you individually from here and just to say, what I'm going to share with you today, I just want you to listen. And maybe you're kind of in this place where you're just like, I don't know what I feel about God. I don't know what I feel about church, let alone Jesus. But maybe there'll be something today that I share that you will actually go, you know what, that sounds a little bit better than how I've lived my life. So maybe you can push in. Maybe you can just lean in just a little bit more and say, how can I apply some of that in my life? How can I trust that in my life? Maybe some of you are here and you grew up in the church and your relationship with God has just been kind of religious at best. It's like I kind of check the boxes, I kind of do the thing, and it's like it doesn't really impact me outside of going to church. Well, I believe something different. I believe that we need to move from this religious experience to a relationship. When we discover that Jesus loves us so much and wants the best for our lives and those around us, we start having this love relationship maybe that you've never discovered. And I don't know about you, but for me, that was so true in my life. I grew up in the church. My family was Christian and all of these different things. I went to a Christian college and I just really kind of just grew like cold. My heart just kind of grew cold when it came to following Jesus. And I had to step back and really evaluate, like, what is this all about? And in that rediscovery process, I started to learn that Jesus loved me, that Jesus loves each and every one of us. And the plan that he has for our life is far better than whatever we think that it could be. And I began to have a new relationship with Jesus. And it was outside of a relationship that my parents had with God. It was my own personal relationship. So as I'm speaking today, I know everything that's going to come out of my mouth. You're like, man, that's the best thing I ever heard. Okay, so anyways, it's not that funny. But anyways, right? There might be one thing that I share today that you'd be like, that makes sense. And could it be that the God of creation is actually trying to have a conversation with you? Is actually saying, hey, you know that thing right there that you've held on to so tightly? That thing that's brought so much anxiety and fear in your life. It's not yours to carry. I want to take that. I want to hold it. And maybe that one thing will transform your life today. I'm going to look at Romans chapter 5. 1 through 5. You can follow along with me here on the screen in just a few moments. Or if you've never downloaded a YouVersion on your phone, if you have a smartphone, you can download YouVersion like it's a Bible app, and it's absolutely incredible. If you don't have a smartphone, you can leave right now and go get one. Okay, so anyways, Romans chapter 5, 1 through 5. It says this is Paul speaking, right? And he's talking to a group of people in Rome. And in this group, there's a mixture of people. There's people that are kind of testing, kicking the tires, like trying to figure out who this Jesus, what this gospel is all about. And then also you have this group of Jewish people that are showing up to this small little gathering, trying to disconnect from all the religion that they've learned in their life and learning about this new way of life. And so Paul kind of has this reason of writing Romans. He's writing to this group of people. One, because there are some issues in the church, right? And so anytime you read the New Testament and you see a letter from Paul, whether it's Corinthians, Ephesians, Romans, any of those, more than likely there was something that was going on in the church where Paul was like, hey, we're going to push into that for a little bit. Or the second reason that Paul might have been writing is like, hey, like this is how you actually live out your personal faith. Or another reason that Paul was writing Romans is actually he was trying to raise funds for his new journey into Spain. And so he was writing this group of Romans, and this is what we're looking at right here. Romans chapter 5, 1 through 5. I'm going to kind of talk about our journey to hope. And he says, therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Verse 2, through whom we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we now stand. And we rejoice in the hope of the glory of God. Not only so, but we also glory or rejoice, you can change out those words, rejoice in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. So Paul's taken us on a little journey. And this is where we're trying to get to in this series, right? To this idea of how do we live with a hope? How do we have a living hope? Now, by the looks of things, Paul is not making it easy. Like, I just want to go to the store and pick up some hope and be okay. Or I want to wake up and I have hope today. But look at the journey that Paul takes, that he shows us what it means to actually have hope. Now, at minimum, it's not easy. It's not as easy as we thought to experience this hope. Now, look where Paul starts this journey of hope. It starts with having peace. Without peace, we cannot persevere. We will actually run out of energy. Now, this peace that he's talking about is not like a peace where it's just like, hey, I've experienced this state of consciousness and I'm just at peace. I'm just kind of flowing. Everything is great. There's unicorns. There's maybe, no cats. So anyways, right? And so I'm not talking about, I know I just offended some people. But anyways, he's talking about a peace that you actually have with your Creator. And he says, when you experience this peace, it's like fuel. It's like this thing that can sustain you. No matter what you're going through, it will sustain you. No matter what the circumstances are around you, when you experience this peace, you can walk forward. You can keep moving. Now think about that. Think about that. It's like a fuel. I played high school tennis. Yeah. And I played high school tennis. And for a while, some thought I was the next Nadal. And that some was my mom. But anyways, that was the only person. She always thinks like I'm the... when my mom describes me, I only have one brother. I think we had a third one. I don't know where he is, but I'm like, that's not who you thought I was. But anyways, I played tennis. I remember we were in regionals, and I played singles. I think it was my junior or senior year, and she gives me $20. Well, in the 1800s, that's a lot of money, everybody. But anyways, she gives me $20. She says, Clint, this is for food and it's for drink. And I was like, okay, yeah. She goes, Clint, make a wise choice. Make a wise choice. Yeah, right? You don't even need to say that. But anyways, I remember she giving me that $20. I drove my Volkswagen Golf to the store, and I picked up some food. And I just passed the refrigerator part of this little convenience store, and it had a 12-pack of Dr. Pepper. I'm like, it's got the word doctor in it. Seems healthy, right? So I purchased this 12-pack of Dr. Pepper, and now it was like 85 degrees that day at regionals. We're on the blacktop. It was so hot. First match, win that match. That's right, because of Dr. Pepper, right? Made a wise choice. The second match, I didn't even make it through the middle. They had to literally carry me off the court. 4 people came on. I was a rather large child. And I was picked up on the court. It was so embarrassing. I had to forfeit the rest of the match. And I was done. Why? Because I didn't make a good choice. I was putting things in me that weren't necessarily good. And it's like, this is what Paul is saying. It's like, hey, when you discover this peace, when you are making this wise choice, when you're choosing to have the peace of Jesus Christ, it will sustain you. And so when those little storms come up, when times get hard or when it gets hot, right, in your life, it's like you can keep persevering. You can keep moving forward. Have you ever noticed that in some times in your life where it's just like times get rough and you're immediately looking for the escape route? You're immediately looking for something else. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. I need a new job. I need a new career. I need to escape. It might not even be that major, but it's like something I got, maybe more alcohol, maybe more drugs. Whatever it is, we think like that will be the thing that I can discover peace with. The peace that Paul is talking about here is being in harmony with God. It's sustaining and long lasting. This peace, and listen to this, this peace can only come from salvation through Jesus Christ. When we make a personal, you guys can sit down. You're welcome to sit down, unless you're just trying to build your quads. Anyways, right? It's like does somebody need to help them? Okay. So anyways, it's like you have access, right? This is about sustaining and long lasting. This peace comes from salvation through Jesus Christ. And I want to challenge you here. It's like maybe, and I go back to what I said at the beginning, maybe for some of you, you kind of, like if I were to say, what's your relationship with God? It's like, well, I've been a Christian my whole life. Well, that's impossible. It's like you have to discover the salvation of Jesus Christ. This is a personal decision. It's like, but have you ever noticed that if you're trying to live through someone else's faith, it's not sustaining? It's just not sustaining. It's like trying to live through somebody else in their glory and their circumstances and their wins. It's like it's just not helpful. Something that we have available to each of us each and every day. It doesn't necessarily mean that our situation or our current circumstance will change, but it gives us permission to ask, to pursue the peace of God. This peace in God is a choice that you can make again and again. Have you ever discovered one of those moments where you're just at peace, no matter what circumstance is going on in life? The other night, my friend Curtis, who's here this morning, gave us tickets to San Francisco Giants. And we were watching the Giants, and we were in these, I thought they were amazing seats. Where, like, if I go to a Giants game, I want to be up as high as I can so I can see as everything. I can't see the players, but I can see the bay, right? Because I can watch that big screen. I could have done that at home. But anyways, I'm sitting in this stadium, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Claire's with me. Who's right there? Henry, Adnan, my nephew, and we're just sitting there. And there was this moment, I think it was in the 6th inning, where like everything just stopped. And I took a picture. I think I have this picture. Like, look at that. We were up 2.5 miles. And the sun was setting. I was telling Claire, I was like, look how beautiful this is. Now, just because I had that peaceful moment didn't mean everything else, all the pain in my life went away. But it was in that moment just where I was just thanked God. I'm like, God, thank you for this moment. Thank you. I have access to your peace that I can experience right in this moment. And that peace spills over even into the next day for me. Now, I have to choose it, don't I? Every day. I have to choose it. Now, here's a question for you. I want you to just take a moment. Just you and you. When have you felt peace before? When have you felt peace before? What would it look like for you to have peace in your life every day? Every day. Where you could just be like, man, I'm choosing peace. I don't know if I have hope right now, but God, I'm going to choose your peace. I'm going to step into your saving grace, the grace that I don't deserve. I don't deserve this salvation, but I'm going to step into it because inside, I am not feeling it. I'm not sensing it, but I'm choosing it. Look at what John says, a disciple. He says, peace I leave with you. This is Jesus talking through John as he writes this down. He says, peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. This is beautiful. He's like, has anybody ever left you a little gift? And it's like they're gone, but they leave a little surprise gift for you. I'm not talking about the gifts that your dog leaves for you, right? It's like I'm talking about a little gift they leave for you, and it reminds you of them. Like every morning, like I get up and tell Michael, I'm like, hey, I'm going to give a little gift and leave a little gift for you. And I give her a kiss. I'm like, you're welcome. She says gross, but anyways, right? It's like this is what Jesus is saying. Hey, I'm leaving. I'm leaving, but I'm going to leave a gift for you, and you actually have access to this peace. This is what Jesus is talking about. I love this statement from Jesus. He said, I left something with you. I left you the gift that keeps on giving. Peace. A man who had friends and family turned on him. Think about this. Jesus lost close friends to death, was doubted and mocked, was tortured and crucified, was able to experience peace all the way to the cross. So obviously our peace can't be determined by external circumstances. Peace fights against fear and anxiety. Where is your heart troubled? What are you afraid of right now? Where is there no peace in your life? This is where I would maybe invite you to even consider to invite Jesus into that part of your life. Because maybe some of us think, well, it's like, I follow Jesus, I trust Jesus, but there's a couple little things you keep on the side, right? There's a couple little compartments like, hey, tiny Jesus, you're not allowed in there. I'm not giving him the code to the door. We treat it like he can't go in there. He already knows about it. It's like Jesus never, and you've heard me say this before, it's like maybe some of you grew up asking that question, how are you doing spiritually? Well, Jesus never asked that question because he knew everything was spiritual. Everything impacted and affected the other parts of our life. So Jesus is always saying, hey, you're going to give me that piece of your life. Are you going to give me that compartment? You're going to open the door because I'm right here and I'm ready. This is Jesus. So the scripture reminds us that we have the opportunity to experience this peace only through Jesus, but it also gives us a pathway to hope. And we are just looking at that first part today, and I'm going to come back and finish some of this, but I got more to go. Some of you got really happy right there. You thought I was closing the service. Heathens. Anyway, I've never heard Chase laugh at anything that I've ever said. This is a moment. Write that down, April. So anyways, Romans chapter 5, we're going to keep going. It says, therefore, since we have been justified, I'm going to go skip to verse 2, through whom we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we now stand. And we rejoice in the hope of the glory of God. Not only so, but we also rejoice in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Now, we're going to talk about hope a little bit in the next couple of weeks. But look in verse 3. It says, because of the peace Jesus offers, there is a totally different reason to rejoice. To rejoice in our suffering, which is weird. I don't know about you, but when I hear or when I suffer or hear tough talk, like if I'm getting news that's hard to receive, I want to avoid it. I am a master avoider. Like if you want to check me on that, talk to my wife at the end. It's like, Clint, you can't avoid this. It's literally why I have a buffalo on my arm. Some of you know that story. It's like the buffalo turns towards the storm. Like everything in me wants to be a cow where it turns away and runs for the storm, but knowing that eventually that storm's going to catch up. It's like everything, this is what we have to do. It's like, man, I want to avoid the suffering, but this is where Paul says you can actually rejoice because of the suffering. Whether it's in a relationship that has tension, or it's a diagnosis that isn't good, or just a season of hurt, I want to just check out and escape. This feels easier than to rejoice. The idea that we are to rejoice in our suffering is so counterintuitive to our natural human response, but it is actually a part of the pathway to hope. Here's your question. Is there something that you are going through right now that is causing you to suffer? And what is your response to it? How are you responding to it? If you're going to write anything down or think about anything, it's like, is there something, because, you've heard me say this, either we're entering a storm, we're in a storm, or we're exiting a storm. Very rarely in our life is it's like, it's smooth sailing. If you're not suffering in something right now, it is coming. What is your response? I want to describe the word rejoice that Paul is using. This isn't rejoice like, let's throw a party or smile your way through it. Both in verse 2 and 3, where we are told to rejoice in hope, used as the same original Greek word, right? And listen to this. I don't even know how to pronounce this verb, but it's like, what's that drink? Kombucha. We're just going to say kombucha, all right? You're like, I'm drinking a Greek word. Anyways, kombucha. Listen to this. To glory, boast, or rejoice, living with head up high. This is what it's talking about. Is that even when you're going through suffering, it's like you can lift your head up. Boasting from a particular vantage point by having the right base of operation to deal successfully with a matter. Now, it's not a Clint-made confidence. It's not a Hillary confidence. It's not a Bill confidence like I have pride, I can survive, I can do this. It's like, no, listen to this. It's living with God-given confidence. That what I'm basing and planting firm in, my identity is secure in. My anchor point is not in something that I've come up with myself or that the world or the culture tells me this will work. It's that I'm putting my identity and this anchor point in the salvation of Jesus Christ and the grace that I receive from it. Amen. I'll say it for you. So anyways, right? Like this is huge. This is what Paul is talking about. So what does this mean? We are to respond with God-given confidence. No matter what we are going through, God is in control. God is in control. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, whether you're doubting, you're skeptical, it's okay. It's like I can't control tomorrow. I can't even control the next 10 minutes. I have to come back to this thing where it's like, is God in control? I have to ask myself, maybe for some of you, this is a beginning point. Is God in control in your life? Do I even believe that he is in control? Do I even believe that he is sovereign? I know that from your viewpoint, whatever you're going through looks like there is no hope. And for sure, not a pathway to hope. But let's be honest, right? There's a lot of things that we do in our life where we say otherwise. I've purchased clothes online, did it this week, that looked really good on them online. And I try them on, and for some reason, I don't look like Michael B. Jordan. My physique is close. No? Okay, so anyways, right? It's like a lot of us, we have this trust. Your view, here's the thing. It's like my view looking online is like one thing. It's like, oh, this is going to work out. This is great. Like I only have one view, one perspective. It comes, now I have a different view. It doesn't look the same. This is what we do. When we go through circumstances, when we go through these storms, when we go through life, we really only have one view, and it's our view. And we trust our view more than we trust God's view. And this is the thing. There is an enemy that is trying to rob you and trying to distort your view and to pervert your view. And in fact, Jesus says this in John 10:10. He says, the thief comes only to steal and to kill and to destroy. Like he's not happy. The enemy is not happy till you are demoralized, till you are out of the game, till you don't feel peace. You're done. I won. Jesus says, no. It's like, you only have one view. And the thief is going to try to rob you. We have an enemy, and that enemy is a creeper, always creeping around, trying to distort your view, trying to have you see your hurts and your pains and your suffering through a lens of disappointment and frustration with God. Listen to this truth. He is always trying to steal, kill, and destroy your view. Remember that. When you are discouraged, could it be that there is actually an enemy? Could it be that you are actually sitting in your room, sitting in your car, you are alone, and you are depressed and you're full of fear? Could it be that you're only looking from your view and your angle? Could it be that God has a different view? Could it be that God is going to play this out in a different way that you never thought imaginable? The last thing the enemy wants you to do is to lift your head and to focus on him. And to focus on Jesus and the hope that he brings. He wants you looking down at your feet, discouraged, lost, and alone. These things might be true, but the enemy wants you to feel it. Whenever my kids played on the soccer field, I was right there on the sidelines. And I would be cheering them on. I would be half coaching every once in a while, passive aggressively. And in fact, my oldest daughter, they moved her to the other side of the field. I don't know to this day for what reason. But anyways, one of the things that they will always hear me say is like, hey, lift your head up. Lift your head up. They scored. Lift your head up. People are watching. Your team is watching. Keep those shoulders up. Keep your head up high. It's like, have you ever noticed when we feel defeat, we kind of walk. I don't know what that is. But anyways, right? We kind of just go down. It's like we got kicked in the gut. Our eyes start focusing on our feet. It's like, no. We can walk around with God-given confidence. We can keep our heads up. God tells us no matter the weight, what you're surrounded by, hold your head up high in suffering. Some of you are walking around and the weight feels too great. The pressure feels too great. Feels like everything is moving against you. You're trying to move upstream and it's like everything is going against you. We are allowed to feel the hurt and pain, but through it, we can stand tall. Through it, we can stand tall. 2 weeks ago, we were in Florida. If you've never been on vacation in Florida, wait till the summer. It's cool. And seriously, like the humidity, I was growing grass off my shoulders. But anyways, that's disgusting. I shaved it off. But anyways, like we were in Florida. One of the things that we do is, or one of the things I do is I love to fish. And I fish off the coast. And some of you have seen this. You plant this PVC pipe in the sand and you cast. Well, these reels, these rod and reels are pretty hefty. They're pretty big because, you know, they're for sea fishing, right? And so, and those of you that are fishermen right now, Bill, don't judge what I'm getting ready to say out of my mouth. I was like, that's not true. That's not a reel. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. Just go along with me. I needed a story. But anyways, I'm fishing. You can cast off the coast and you can get it. These weights are like these big triangle weights are probably 5 ounces. They're pretty hefty. You can whip this thing out. But you know where the fish are? The good fish are? They're way out. And in fact, the guy that let me borrow him, one of my good friends, he actually goes out. He has a bigger rod and reel, and he catches sharks in this same water that I go in. He actually pulled in last year an 8-foot bull shark. But he takes a little kayak, and he goes out about 800 yards, and he drops the bait, and he kind of goes back. Well, this is what I did, and I actually have a picture of it right here. I think I do. Yeah, that's that's me. And even if I were losing control or if I was in danger, my family just didn't even care. Just kind of watched me like, oh, there goes Dad. It's Jack from Titanic. But anyways, right? It's like, this is me. I'm going way out. If you want the good fish, you got to go way out and you got to get into like deeper water. And I would just keep going, and I would feel the tide. You know, I would pass some boats because I was still walking, and I would just go out, and I would start feeling all this pressure from the water that was around me. I would start to feel the current in the tide moving against me. My mind started thinking, Todd just caught a bull shark here a few months ago. There's probably sharks waiting to eat me. It's like all of this thing, and everything in me wanted to go back and just cast from the coast. But I was like, no. I'm going to do this. So I walked out as far as I could, and I would get my arm up above the water, and I would cast. Sometimes it went at least 5 feet. And then sometimes it would go at least like 30, 40 yards deeper and deeper water. And then I would make the journey back. But the whole time I had to keep my head up above water. The whole time I had to keep this reel up. For some of you right now, it's like you feel like, man, everything is against me. Like the tide's going to take me out. This is going to be the last thing. I can't do this anymore. But with this peace that Paul is talking about, you can have God-given confidence that you can keep your head up high no matter what you're walking through. Feel that pain, feel that hurt, but know that God is in control. And your earthly situation might not lead to a great destination. But I can still have the confidence because Paul knew it wasn't about this earth. There was something on the horizon that can give us hope and that we can keep moving forward. Even when it feels like it's too much. Even when it feels like too much. The thing that kept me going was to focus on what was coming. By the way, let me finish this story. I didn't catch a fish. So anyways, the thing that kept me going is this idea is like, I'm going to catch a pompano. I don't know if you know what a pompano is. I didn't either until I caught one 2 years ago. And it was beautiful and it was good. It was great eating. But it's like I had to keep focused on that because I knew that maybe the outcome, if I stay in this, maybe something good will come. I could feel the water. I could feel the current. And all those things were real. But what was greater was understanding what was to come. I want to read this. The scripture that's on there, Adnan, is not the one I'm going to read. I'm going to read, amen. I'm going to read 2 Corinthians 1, and I want you to just be with me. So whatever is going on around you, whatever your thoughts are, I want to end this way. Because I think there's this temptation, maybe some of you have bought this, hook, line, and sinker. Chase can come up. It's like, I think one of the things that we've bought is like, if I choose to follow God, everything's going to be okay. And some of you have lived a living hell. Maybe with your children, maybe with your career, maybe with relationships. It's just been hard. And it just seems like one storm after another. It's like you're sitting on the beach and it's just one wave hitting you after another. And that storm seems to never release. Well, I can give you the confidence to know this is that Paul is writing to you. He's writing to you. Because some of us are tempted to look at other people in our lives and friends. Maybe it's on social media. It's the work stories. It's whatever. It's like, man, if only I had their life. Why did I do that? Why did I make that choice? Why did this have to happen to me? Why did I get this diagnosis? Why did my loved one get this diagnosis? Why? It's thing after thing. And it's like the more things that we think about, the more our head goes down and the harder it is to let God pick it up. Maybe for some of you today, you need to sense that the Holy Spirit is going, let's pull that up. I'm going to be right here with you. I'm going to hold it up. But listen to what Paul says to the Corinthian people in 2 Corinthians. You want to write this verse down, or if you want to follow along with me on YouVersion or whatever. This is his second letter to the Corinth people. And he says, we don't want you in the dark, friends, about how hard it was when all this came down on us in Asia province. So Paul is referring back to an experience where he was tortured, where he was beaten, where people, his crew, his posse was dispersed. It was so bad, we didn't think we were going to make it. We felt like we'd been sent to death row, that it was all over for us. As it turned out, it was the best thing that could have happened. Instead of trusting in our own strength or wits to get out of it, we were forced to trust God totally. Not a bad idea, since he's the God who raises the dead. And he did it. Rescued us from certain doom. And he'll do it again, rescuing us from many times as we need rescuing. You and your prayers are a part of the rescue operation. I don't want you in the dark about that either. I can see your faces even now, lifted in praise for God's deliverance of us. A rescue in which your prayers played so much a crucial part. Keep your heads up, people. For those of you who are going through something right now, keep your head up, keep praying. For those of you who are not going through something right now, pray for someone else. Intercede on their behalf. And Lord, I just pray right now that you will keep their head up, that you will remind them of the confidence that they have in you. What does it look like to do this? Life is going to throw us all curveballs. Life is going to be full of hurt and pain, and we are going to cry. There will be storms that seem impossible to navigate, but we can walk through with confidence. And I end with these couple of questions. How would your life be different today if you stood with your head held high in suffering? What view might you see if you stood up tall and confident in God? Pray with me. Lord, we just come to you, and I know there might only be one. There might be 10. There might be 30 of us in here or watching online right now that feel like the pressure is too great. Lord, I want you to let them feel that it's okay to feel that pain and to feel that hurt. Not to ignore it and not to say just get over it, but the Lord to invite you into it. So that maybe in the next week, in the next month, in the next year, they're able to pull their head up and to walk in your confidence, not in mine, not in theirs, but in yours. In your name.